A great white shark moves alone through the deep blue water surrounding Guadalupe Island. Its dorsal fin cuts through the surface for only a moment before disappearing. There is no family swimming beside it, no coordinated hunting pack, and no permanent group following the same route. For generations, humans have described the great white as the ultimate solitary predator, an independent hunter that travels, searches, and kills without needing companions. But beneath the surface, where human eyes cannot follow for long, the shark's life may be far more social than its reputation suggests. Electronic tags, underwater cameras, acoustic receivers, and years of observation are revealing a hidden network of temporary associations. Great whites do not form families like orcas or schools like smaller fish, but they may choose to spend time near certain individuals, follow the movements of other sharks, and use the presence of companions to locate food. The ocean's most famous solitary hunter may not be completely alone after all. Great white sharks often travel across enormous distances by themselves. Adults migrate between coastal feeding areas and remote regions of the open ocean. Juveniles can move between nursery habitats, separated by hundreds of kilometers. Mothers do not remain with their offspring after birth, and young sharks must begin surviving independently almost immediately. There is no evidence of parents teaching their young how to hunt, no stable family pod, and no permanent leader guiding the group. Yet a species does not need lifelong families to possess social behavior. Sociality can exist in brief encounters, repeated associations, tolerance, information sharing, and decisions about which animals to approach or avoid. Great whites regularly gather in places where valuable resources become concentrated. Seal colonies, seasonal fish migrations, coastal nurseries, and whale carcasses can attract several sharks into the same area. At first, it is easy to assume that these animals are together only because they independently discovered the same food. If several people enter the same restaurant, it does not mean they are friends. In the same way, several sharks feeding near an island do not automatically form a social group. The difficult question is whether some individuals deliberately remain near particular sharks after accounting for the food and habitat that brought them together. Researchers studying white sharks off Guadalupe Island attempted to answer this by placing advanced biologging packages near the shark's dorsal fins. These devices did more than record depth and movement. Some carried cameras that showed what the shark saw. Accelerometers measured changes in speed, direction, and physical activity. Small acoustic receivers detected tagged sharks swimming nearby, creating a record of which individuals met, how long they remained together, and what the focal shark was doing during those encounters. The instruments allowed scientists to temporarily experience the ocean from the shark's perspective. The results showed enormous differences between individuals. Some sharks appeared relatively unsociable, meeting only a few others during several days of recording. Another shark encountered 12 different individuals within approximately 30 hours. Most associations were weak and brief, exactly what might be expected when predators happen to cross paths near a productive island. But a small number were noticeably stronger. Certain sharks remained together longer or encountered one another more frequently than chance alone seemed likely to explain. This does not prove that great white sharks form friendships in the human sense. Scientists cannot ask whether one shark likes another, remembers a previous meeting, or feels safer beside a familiar individual. However, The data challenge the idea that every encounter is meaningless. Some sharks may be more socially inclined than others, and individual personalities may influence how they use companions. One shark may approach almost every animal it detects. Another may keep its distance. Some may tolerate sharks of similar size but avoid larger individuals. A cautious animal may leave when another predator enters the area, while a more confident shark remains nearby. These differences mean that there is no single great white personality. Each shark may occupy a different position within the temporary social network surrounding a feeding site. The tagged sharks also differed in their preferred hunting depths and movement patterns. Some were especially active in relatively shallow water, while others showed greater activity between approximately 200 and 300 meters below the surface. The sharks were not all searching in the same way. Each appeared to use its own hunting strategy, exploring a particular section of the water column and responding differently to the surrounding environment. This variety creates an intriguing possibility. A shark may gain information simply by observing another individual's behavior. Imagine one great white searching near the surface, while another repeatedly dives into deeper water. If the deep-diving shark locates squid, fish, a dead marine mammal, or another valuable resource, its behavior changes. It may begin turning more frequently, accelerating, or remaining within one area. A nearby shark does not need to understand the reason immediately. It only needs to notice that the other animal has stopped traveling and begun behaving like a predator that has found something. By following or approaching, the second shark gains access to information it did not discover independently. This is known as local enhancement. An animal is attracted to a location because another individual's behavior indicates that something important may be there. The first shark does the difficult work of locating a patchy resource. Others benefit by noticing its movements. Great whites do not need to cooperate intentionally for this system to work. The first shark may have no desire to share. It may even prefer to feed alone. But it cannot hide every movement, scent, or piece of drifting tissue. Blood and oil spread through the water. Birds gather at the surface. Smaller scavengers arrive. A shark repeatedly circling below creates visible and acoustic signals. Other predators investigate, and information spreads through the environment. The researchers proposed that temporary associations could allow great whites to share information inadvertently about the location or remains of large prey. A seal or fish provides a meal to one shark, but a whale carcass can support many large predators. Finding such a resource in the open ocean is difficult. Following the behavior of another shark could dramatically reduce the time required to locate it. A whale carcass represents an especially important event. A dead whale contains enormous quantities of blubber, muscle, and internal organs. It may drift for days, creating a moving island of energy. Great whites can arrive from different directions, sometimes gathering in numbers rarely seen during ordinary hunting. In these situations, their ability to tolerate one another becomes essential. If every shark immediately attacked every competitor, the risk of injury would be enormous. A bite from another great white can damage fins, muscles, eyes, or gills. Even a victorious shark might suffer wounds that later reduce its ability to hunt. The animals often rely on body language, positioning, and differences in size to manage access to food without entering a full fight. A larger shark may approach directly, causing a smaller individual to move away. Two sharks may swim parallel to evaluate one another's size. One may change direction, lower its pectoral fins, turn sharply, or display its body from the side. These movements allow each animal to gather information about the other without immediately making physical contact. The shark's body becomes a signal. Size communicates strength. A confident approach communicates willingness to compete. Withdrawal signals that the smaller or less motivated animal accepts the other's priority. The interaction can create a temporary hierarchy around the food. This hierarchy is not necessarily fixed for life. A shark that yields beside one carcass may behave differently when it is hungrier, when fewer competitors are present, or after it has grown larger. Social rank can change according to context. The sharks continually evaluate risk, reward, body size, and the behavior of nearby individuals. The hidden social network is therefore not peaceful. Social behavior does not mean affection. It includes avoidance, intimidation, tolerance, competition, and the ability to respond appropriately when another predator arrives. For a great white, knowing when to approach may be as important as knowing when to leave. At juvenile nursery sites in Southern California, researchers have discovered another layer of this social mystery. Young white sharks gather seasonally in shallow coastal areas where the water is warm and food is available. Acoustic tracking of 86 juveniles over 6 years found that their co-occurrence was not always random. Many appeared within loose, temporary communities, and sharks of similar sizes were more likely to be associated with one another. The groups repeatedly formed and dissolved, following what scientists call fission-fusion dynamics. These young sharks were not swimming in organized schools. They could remain 10 or 20 meters apart, and group membership was unstable. One shark might spend time near several companions before leaving the location. Days or weeks later, a different combination would appear. The network constantly changed as individuals arrived, traveled, searched for food, and departed. Similar-sized sharks may be more comfortable near one another because neither has an overwhelming physical advantage. A very large shark can injure or potentially prey upon a much smaller individual. Staying near animals of comparable size may reduce the danger of aggression while still providing access to social information. The nursery may therefore function as more than a warm, food-rich habitat. It could also be the first place where young great whites learn how to behave around members of their own species. They discover how closely another shark can be approached, how to respond when a larger individual turns toward them, and when following another animal may lead to food. There is no adult teacher demonstrating these rules. Learning occurs through experience. A juvenile approaches too closely and is displaced. The next time, it maintains greater distance. It notices another shark repeatedly hunting in a particular area and begins investigating the same location. It discovers which body movements signal aggression and which can be ignored. These early encounters may shape social tendencies that continue into adulthood. A shark that repeatedly benefits from following companions could become more socially active. Another that experiences aggression may develop a stronger preference for avoiding others. Personality and experience combine to produce adults that behave very differently, even within the same population. This could explain why one tagged adult encountered many sharks, while another remained largely separate. The difference may not be caused only by where they happen to swim. One individual may actively seek information from others, Another may rely primarily on its own senses and experience. Both strategies can be successful. A social shark gains access to information but must tolerate competition. By following another predator toward food, it may arrive after the best parts have already been consumed. It may also risk confronting a larger shark. A solitary animal avoids those conflicts, but must locate every resource independently. The best strategy may change with the type of prey. Hunting a living seal requires surprise. Several sharks approaching the same target could interfere with one another and alert the prey. In this situation, remaining alone may increase success. Scavenging a whale carcass is different. The resource is too large to disappear after one bite, and its location is difficult to discover. The information gained from other sharks becomes more valuable than the cost of sharing. Social tolerance increases because many individuals can feed before the carcass is exhausted. The same shark may therefore behave independently during one hunt and socially during another. It is not permanently solitary or permanently social. It adjusts its behavior to the problem in front of it. The biologging study found that associations often occurred when sharks were traveling in relatively straight paths or turning frequently. Straight travel may indicate that one shark is following another toward a destination. Frequent turning can occur when animals search or remain near something important. These movement patterns support the possibility that social encounters are connected to exploration and foraging rather than being meaningless contact. A shark may detect another animal ahead and align its movement with it. For a time, the two swim in the same direction. The follower does not need to remain directly beside the leader. It can trail at a distance, using sight, smell, pressure changes, or acoustic detections produced by the environment. If the leading shark suddenly dives, the follower can choose whether to descend. If it begins circling, the follower investigates. If nothing valuable appears, they separate. The association lasts only as long as the possible information remains useful. This is a social network designed for an ocean where resources are scattered and unpredictable. Permanent groups would create constant competition and require every member to travel at the same speed. Temporary associations allow individuals to gain information without sacrificing complete independence. The network has no central leader. A shark that discovers food becomes temporarily important because others may follow it. Later, another individual finds a resource and becomes the source of information. Leadership changes according to who knows something useful at that moment. Great whites may also recognize individuals. Although the extent of that ability remains uncertain, their vision can detect body shape, size, movement, and contrasting markings. Their sense of smell may provide chemical information. The electrical fields created by muscles could contain subtle individual differences. Repeated meetings at the same seasonal locations create opportunities for recognition to develop. A shark returning to Guadalupe Island may encounter animals it saw the previous year. Some individuals show strong loyalty to particular aggregation sites. A large male that repeatedly appears in the same region may become familiar to other sharks. Just as it becomes recognizable to researchers through scars and pigmentation patterns, familiarity could reduce uncertainty. Approaching an unknown shark requires caution because its behavior is unpredictable. A familiar animal with an established size and response pattern may be easier to tolerate. The sharks do not need emotional friendship for repeated recognition to affect their decisions. Yet researchers must remain cautious. Two sharks appearing together may be responding to the same temperature, current, prey, or underwater structure rather than choosing each other. Proving social preference in the ocean is extremely difficult. The animals travel through 3 dimensions, often outside the range of cameras and receivers. A tag records only part of each life, and a temporary association cannot reveal what the shark is thinking. The current evidence supports a middle position. Great whites are not cooperative pack hunters, and most of their lives may still be spent independently. But they are also not mindless loners that ignore every member of their species. They possess flexible social behavior and can form temporary associations whose strengths differ between individuals. Some meetings may be random, others may provide information or reflect a genuine preference for particular companions. Their social world may resemble a network of roads crossing through the ocean. Most of the time, each shark travels alone. At important locations, several routes meet. Information passes between the travelers. Some continue together for a while. Others avoid one another or change direction. Eventually, the routes separate again. Somewhere near Guadalupe Island, a tagged great white descends through clear blue water. A camera records its movement, while an acoustic receiver searches for signals from other tagged sharks. For several hours, the predator travels alone. Then the receiver detects another individual. The second shark appears ahead, moving across the slope of the island. The focal shark changes direction and follows. They do not swim side by side like dolphins. Several body lengths remain between them, and no obvious signal passes from one to the other. The leading shark descends. The follower descends moments later. At 200 meters, the water is colder and light has faded. Both animals begin turning more frequently. Something is present below them, perhaps fish, either squid, or the remains of a larger animal. Their activity increases. The camera cannot reveal every detail. One shark disappears beyond visibility and later returns. The two remain within acoustic range for part of the dive, then separate. Hours later, the tagged animal encounters another shark near the surface, to a human watching from a boat. Each dorsal fin may have appeared alone. Only the tag reveals that the animal's paths repeatedly crossed, for a brief time, became connected. There was no permanent pack and perhaps no cooperation. But one shark may have learned where to search because another animal was already there. This is the hidden social life of the great white. It exists in temporary alliances, cautious approaches, shifting hierarchies, and information unintentionally revealed by movement. It begins in juvenile nurseries, where similarly sized sharks gather, and may continue at adult feeding grounds, where predators meet around seals and whale carcasses. A great white does not need companions in order to survive. Its senses, speed, and strength allow it to hunt alone. But independence does not make information from other animals worthless. Sometimes another shark is a competitor that must be avoided. Sometimes it is a threat that forces retreat. Sometimes it is a moving signal indicating that food has been found. The intelligence lies in recognizing the difference. The next time a single great white appears beneath the surface, remember that solitude may be only what the camera can see. Another shark could be swimming beyond the limits of the frame. A familiar individual may have passed through the area hours earlier. The predator's route may have been influenced by movements occurring several kilometers away. The great white remains an independent hunter, but its ocean is not socially empty. Invisible connections surround it, forming, breaking, and forming again as animals meet around scattered resources. The shark moves alone, but it may still be watching the others,